Okay, allow me to start with a question. Have you ever been asked, when are you having kids? Now, for most couples today, the answer would probably say, we're not having one. Well, hello everyone. We are Group 6, and I'm Madeline, together with my team, Geraldine, Devon, Ivana, and Georgina. We are going to talk about a growing social phenomenon, which is child-free marriage. Next. Now, child-free itself is much more of a personal choice that tends to elicit unfavorable reactions from the public. Now, while increasing couples are exploring or enjoying a childless life, they frequently confront societal and cultural constraints, particularly in countries like Indonesia. Now, Indonesia itself is known for its patriarchal and religious society, which will most likely reject this type of standard. Now, despite the difficulties and taboo surrounding their decisions, some people actually believe that it is critical to prioritize personal pleasure over expectations. Next. Now, there are three important things that stood out the most regarding this. Firstly, those who openly express their choice of oftenly face backlash from their family and from people online. And then couples who are forced to be child-free for various reasons still receive criticism. And then number three, other societies and countries with more liberal ideologies, such as those from West, have been more accepting to that choice. Now, why is it significant? Well, big issues like financial and cultural pressures can actually influence personal choices, like the decision to go child-free, like the rising of living costs or job insecurity, and maybe like lack of affordable housing or childcare make parenthood feel financially unrealistic for many people. And then new social standards embraced by younger generations are more self-aware, but there will always be emotional and cultural cost. Now, while younger people are prioritizing boundaries, therapies, and self care, they still face guilt and pressure from family or societal judgment, especially when they reject a traditional life paths like marriage or children. And then the last one is there might be potential cultural transformation where mental health and quality of life are considered much more important over traditional expectation. Now, this actually could lead to societies that value emotional well being, work life balance, and purpose driven living more than just status or conformity. However, such a shift takes time and often clashes with long lasting norms and values. Next.
Right. Now we move on to the claims that are often stated in the debate of child-free marriage, as well as their categories. The first one is the term child-free is still something new and frowned upon, even kind of taboo. Now, this is a statement that comes from our source, Lydia, who herself chooses to be child-free in her marriage. It is a value and subjective claim. It is value as it makes judgment based on her personal, as in non-universal preference. And this statement shows that shows of her point of view about society's attitudes, in Indonesia specifically, towards the child-free concept. And it is also a subjective evaluation that may differ among other people in and also different societies. The next statement is the percentage of married women aged 15 to 49 without children rose from 7% in 2019 to 88.2% in 2022. This is an objective and factual claim. It is objective as it evaluates based on non-personal and universal standard, and it is also factual as the statement is based on that objective claim. This is also a statistical data generated from surveys conducted by, according to our source, this BPS or Statistics Indonesia, and it represents a measurable demographic trend among Indonesians. We also have people who do speak up about being intentionally child-free on social media, for example, often face jeers and mockery. This is an objective and factual claim. It is objective as the standard of this statement is based on something that's non-personal. It is based on based on what is observed, and it is also a factual claim as it is based off of that observation. It describes what tends to happen based on examining interactions in social media, and it is also based on the reactions of people online.
Okay, now we're going to move on to the fourth claim. Honestly speaking, I think those who aggressively oppose child-free individuals are frustrated with their own decision to have kids. Now, this claim is a subjective and value claim, as it is stated that it is someone's opinion. Now, this is also further enhanced by the passage expressing that a judgment about the motives of others and is basically based on a personal opinion, which is not easily provable by factual sources. Now, from this claim itself is from the source of JakartaPost.com. Next. Okay, the last claim is choosing to be child-free is a lifestyle choice. Now, this is an objective and factual claim, as it is not generalizing to anything that is a personal opinion and therefore just a sentence that is subjective. Now, this is also further explained by the term child-free itself, which generally implies a choice and is widely understood and discussed in media and academic context when differentiating from being. Now, this claim is from the source of casia.com. Okay, next. Okay, next, we're going to move on to our next session, which is argument and counter argument. Now, basically, this a premise is going to be given regarding the topic of child-free, and then there will be a conclusion. Okay, next. Okay, our first premise and conclusion, our argument, is a supporting argument regarding this matter, which is pro-child-free argument. With the premise being child-free allows individuals to pursue personal growth, financial freedom, and mental well-being without the emotional and financial responsibilities of raising children, which often leads to higher reported life satisfaction and lower stress levels among free adults. Now, the conclusion of this premise is, therefore, being child-free can be a fulfilling, responsible, and beneficial life choice for many people. Next. Okay, and our second argument is a counter argument, which is generally against being child-free. Now, the premise is while being child-free may offer more independence in early adulthood, long-term studies show that having children can improve social and emotional support later in life and enhance sense of legacy, identity, and belonging, especially in cultures where family ties are central. Now, the conclusion of this premise is that, therefore, choosing not to have children may result in increased loneliness and reduced social support and old age. Okay, next. And then with those two arguments being stated, one being the supporting one and one being a counter argument, after looking at both sides, we think that choosing to have kids or not really depends on each person's situation and what they want in life. So both choices have their own good and bad sides. Some people feel happy and free without kids, while others find meaning and support from having a family. So in the end, we as a group generally believe that everyone should be free to decide what works best for them without being judged by others, of course. And what matters most is that people feel happy and at peace with their decision.
Okay, so now we'll move on to the specific deductive arguments. Next, please. We'll first start with the supporting, which are claim being individuals have the right to make their personal life choices that prioritize their well being. Therefore, choosing to be child free is a personal life choice aimed at prioritizing one's well being. Now, this is considered as a categorical syllogism, and the conclusion we've came to is that individuals have the right to choose to be child free to prioritize their own well being. Next, we have our against. If a significant portion of the population chooses to be child free,
then the nation's fertility rate will decline, leading to an aging population and potential economic challenges. This considers as a hypothetical syllogism, and the conclusion we've come to is that therefore, if a significant portion of the population chooses to be child free, it may lead to an aging population and potential economic challenges. Last but not least, we have our team's final position, which we'll consider as a dilemma syllogism. Either people choose to have children and fulfill societal expectations, or they choose to be child free and prioritize personal well being. Now, this has to do with both our supporting and against. And the conclusion to this is that, therefore, choosing to be child free can be a healthier and more authentic path for some individuals.
Let's move to the specific inductive arguments. For the supporting view, a growing number of couples in Indonesia and worldwide choose not to have children and report higher satisfaction with their decision. In conclusion, many people are happy with their marriage and can be satisfied even without having children. This generalization should be valid because it is based on real life examples. Next one, against argument. Some child-free couples later regret not having children, particularly in old age. In conclusion, in the long run, being child-free may cause loneliness or maybe even regret, although this might not be universally true and may only happen in some cases. Next. Well, in our position, we choose that while both sides offer valid perspectives, we believe that choosing to be child-free is a personal decision that can still lead to a fulfilling and meaningful life. Real-life examples show that many couples are happy without children and feel satisfied in their relationships and personal growth. Although it's true that some may regret this choice later in life, such regret is not guaranteed and often depends on individual values, support systems, and life goals. Therefore, being child free should not be seen as a negative or selfish choice, but as one of many valid paths in life.
Last but not least, we have our informal logical fallacies. Next, please. First, we have appeal to tradition. Couples that have always had children. It's the natural order. So each married couple should have their children of their own. This is fallacious because of the public perception itself. Even if it has been traditionally practiced soon after getting married, it does not mean everyone should follow the same or that it is the right thing to do. People should be allowed to question before continuing.
Okay, so for the next claim is people who choose to not have children are selfish and immature. Now, this lies for hominem or attack the person fallacy, and it's fallacious because the individual's character is attacked directly without considering the reasoning behind this lifestyle choice. Instead of just focusing on the real issue, the person is just directly judged. Next. So that is it for our presentation. Thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.